Hey, and welcome back to the next episode of the Right Hand Drive Guys podcast, the podcast for guys who like right hand drives. I'm Bobby, this is Aaron,
Yo.
and this is episode 99.
99.
Hell yeah, and that means that next week is episode 100. And if you have listened to all 100 of our episodes, we are deeply, deeply excited about that.
Hell yeah.
Very thankful. We definitely put in a lot of effort into this, so you taking the time to listen to this right now is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate it 100%.
Mm-hmm. And so we decided let's do another interview. Let's talk to another one of, our fellow car people. And this week we have somebody that I got to meet last year for ours meeting. He's from Colorado, and his name is Kendan Anderson. And Kendan is a pretty unique guy. He definitely knows a ton about Nissans, and it helps that he has quite a few, which I'm sure we'll get into during the podcast. But we were at ours meeting, and a mutual friend of ours introduced us, and I didn't have a hotel room at Fuji Speedway Hotel, which all the other dudes did.
Yeah.
And I was pretty bummed about it because once I got there, I realized, whoa, this place is sick, and I would love to stay here, but I'm 20 kilometers away, whatever. And Kendan was like, hey, dude, I got an extra room. You want it? And I'm like, what? For real? You just overheard my conversation. You're offering me exactly what I need. And from then on, I was like, yeah, this dude's awesome.
Yeah. Sounds like it, dude.
He didn't have to do that, and I definitely appreciated it. But as I got to know him, I just realized his knowledge is so expansive, and he's kind of into a lot of different pieces of the Japanese culture. And it just kind of it was fascinating for me. So I was like, let's have him on. So this is episode 99. With Kendan Anderson. Let's get it.
Hell yeah.
All right, and we're back with Kendan. What's up, man?
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. Dang, I can't even. The background there, man. You're really showing us what you got. That is a good looking garage, dude.
Well, you guys are always in the garage, so I figured I should go in the garage.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm loving it. And so, I know Kendan. I know Aaron doesn't really know Kendan, and the listeners, some of them may, some of them may not. But just hit us up with who is Kendan? What do you do? What's your deal?
Yeah, I'm Kendan. I grew up in Auburn. I buy cars here and there occasionally for myself, and some to fix and sell. That's kind of died off a little bit recently. I've always been into Nissans. I had a 91 Sentra in high school. Nice. Great, reliable car, super slow.
Reliable, but not exciting.
Right. And actually, so this Pulsar right here is probably the closest thing to that car I had in high school. Also a front-wheel drive, 1.6 liter, but a lot faster and a lot more fun.
Nice.
And so where are you at? You live in Colorado, no?
Yeah, so I moved to Colorado in 2006 and stayed here ever since. Just really like the outdoors lifestyle, mountain biking, hiking. There's a good car scene here, really great cars and coffee scene here. So stuck around.
And so, yeah, that was something I was going to try to kind of elaborate on because, as you know, I used to live in the Springs back in the day, and it pretty much seemed like a lot of Evos and STIs, a lot of that all-wheel drive kind of setup. Is that the same now, or has it kind of expanded a bit?
I would say it's quite diverse. There is a lot of Subarus here. There's not as many Evos. I don't know if it's a reliability thing, but there's definitely a lot of Subarus. More of them are into the stance crowd maybe here, but we have, all runs of motorsports. We have guys that are street racing and making 1,000 horsepower on Hondas, on R35s, Supras. Evos. We have guys. There's a huge drift community here. Drift Colorado just had their first, I think, Pro-Am licensing series this summer, where they are actually they issued out their first Pro-Am license for Formula Drift.
Nice.
We have High Plains Raceway. We have PPIR. Unfortunately, we lost Bandamere this year, so a lot of the guys are taking to the streets lately.
Dang.
So that's what happens when the drag strip closes. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, that's true.
But definitely, a lot of diversity. We even have a Natasha car club that sprung up recently, which I feel like you don't really see outside of the West Coast much.
No. Wow. So it's starting to kind of spread. Colorado's starting to take some of that.
Yeah, I think ever since they added more direct flights from Denver to Tokyo, the influence has increased quite a bit. You know, there's a lot of Japanese culture that has infiltrated the state in the past decade for sure.
Interesting.
That's sweet. Can't really complain too much about that. I mean, you know, in that sense, for guys like us, anytime we can get a little bit more influence from Japan, I don't really ever see that as a bad thing.
Absolutely. And I just heard one of my favorite sushi chains that has spots all over the West Coast. They're opening a restaurant in Boulder and 2 more in the coming years here.
Wow.
So, and it's like the robotic, like sushi chain where you order on a screen and it comes shooting around the conveyor belt right to you.
Oh, come on,
Those
man.
are the
And
best.
it's really good stuff too.
You're spoiled, man. You guys are spoiled out there. So I know, let's set it right off because, you know, one thing when I met you that obviously was really apparent was that you have the triple threat. And so I know Aaron had a question about that.
Yeah, man. Why the Skyline? You know, I know you've been into Nissans for a while. Why the Skyline, you know?
Yeah, why the Skyline?
Well, I mean, I could go with a lengthy answer and I'll give some more background, but it mostly boils down to this.
Oh, wow. He's got
Dang.
the magazine.
You pulled out the archives, Kendan? Come on.
I have a library. So I have every issue of GTR magazine from 1994. I have a ton of magazines. So when I was growing up in high school, I had dial-up at home. You know, the internet wasn't a thing. We didn't have YouTube. There's no Facebook, Instagram, etc. That's how we got our information, was magazines, Modified Magazine, Super Street, Sport Compact Car.
Yeah.
Or I'd go down to Seattle. There's this big grocery store chain called Wajimaya, and they have a bookstore in there, and they'd get magazines from Japan, like Option and GTR magazine. And I'd pick those up. You know, I can't read Japanese, but you know, you can read tire sizes and turbos and displacement and all kinds of things.
Yep.
So it's, you know, that kind of brought me into, you know, what is a Skyline? In high school, my dream car was honestly the 300ZX. That was something available on the U.S. market. I didn't really know even if you could or how to get a Skyline in the U.S. back in the 90s. By the time I went to college, a few of them had started trickling in through MotorX, and a handful of them in the Seattle area. Some guys were bringing them in through the Navy. They were having cars shipped back, just not so legally, but they were making it into the state somehow. So you'd see them around town on very rare occasion, and just the presence of that car always was a level above anything else that we had, especially as a guy with high schooler with a Sentra.
Right. Yeah.
You
True.
know, this twin turbo monster shows up, and it's just mind blowing. You know, the closest thing we had was the Supra, which was exorbitantly expensive at the time also. So that kind of set me down the path of Skyline ownership. I bought my first one in 2014, sight unseen, from a place called Zenitani in Osaka. Flew out there in November of that year, got to meet the owner of the shop and see the car, and, you know, fire it up, and shipped it out in January of that year. That's a long story for another day.
Is this the 32?
I've just been hooked ever since. That's 32. Yep, this one right here.
Yeah, that thing. Yeah, that thing. We'll get to your IG at the end, but that thing is a beast. Like, that thing is ridiculous for sure. When I first saw that, it looks like a track attack car. It just is wild.
Is that a Zenitani built car?
It was originally. It's now the whole drivetrain was rebuilt by UP Garage in the Northwest, which I'm sure we'll get to in this conversation. So it's currently a Step Zero 2.8 stroker. It's on Apex E-Twins, Step 2 VCAM. It makes about 500 wheel, super responsive, full boost at 3,900 RPM, and it just picks up and goes.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds like you figured out that kind of perfect ratio, the balance that the Japanese always speak of. It's always the balance. They don't want all the power, they want the balance, and it sounds like that's what you hit with that. So all right, so I don't really even know. I know you've been going to Japan for a long time, right?
Yep.
Like, when was your first trip?
So my first, other than layovers through Tokyo, my first trip was in 2011. And this October will be my 7th trip to Japan.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah.
And
so
I mean,
it's a place I like returning to, obviously.
It's hard not to.
Just unlike anywhere else on Earth.
It really is. And it really is crazy how, it brings people together. Like I mentioned in the intro, like I met you just through going to Japan. If I hadn't have gone to ours meeting last year, we probably wouldn't be talking. And it's just crazy how it's like this common denominator for so many people. And you go there and you meet somebody, and it's like you guys have been cool forever because of that love, for Japan. And it just kind of, I don't know. I never have had a bad experience in Japan.
Yeah, I feel like the guys that go, they get it. Like there's more to it than just building your car in the garage and driving it locally. You want to go and see the source of the influence of this particular car culture. And the source is Japan. Go to Nismo, go to Spoon, go to Mines, see these shops, meet the owners, talk to people over there. And it's clear, the way that they build and tune cars and the way they put passion into everything they do is so apparent compared to shops here in the US and just people in general, where their mindset is a little more, lazy and immediate in what they want and things they do to their car.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. And so 7 times over there, that's more than probably most of our listeners for sure. Give us a few quick favorite memories from these trips. You got a story or two, I'm sure you do. Let's hear it, man.
Yeah, I think I've got a pretty good story from each trip, but I'll try to keep it brief here. In 2013, I got interviewed by NHK TV at Toyota MegaWeb. Just out of the blue, this TV crew shows up and says, "Can we interview you? You're a foreigner, and we're not sure why you're here, and we want to talk to you." I said, "Okay." So I got on TV, and they're asking me, which cars do you like, and why are you here? And at the time, I had a 350Z drift car back home. And I'm pulling out my phone and showing them pictures of me drifting at PPIR. Probably thought I was a super nerd for going all the way to Japan to look at cars, but it was an experience for sure. And it's unfortunate Toyota MegaWeb is no longer there, because that was a great place to go see all kinds of different cars. 2014, I took my girlfriend to Kyoto, Osaka, and Hiroshima. That was a really great trip. Kyoto in December is amazing. They have the bamboo forest all lit up at night. There's lanterns in the river.
Oh, wow.
Just a lot of really, really beautiful scenery over there. The leaves change color later over in Japan too. So late November, early December is almost peak like leaf season over there for them.
That must have been beautiful, huh?
Absolutely. Good time to go to, because it's not too cold yet. Just a jacket. It's not too rainy. The monsoon season is over. Let's see. Visiting, been to both the Yamazaki and the Hakushu distilleries. Obviously, those are kind of bucket list places for me as a whiskey fan. And the experience there is really cool, especially the Yamazaki distillery. They have this tasting room called the Whiskey Library, and they have over 3,000 whiskeys on hand to sample for a price. But I'll have to send you guys some pictures after this so you can understand what I'm talking about. But it's just walls, like bookshelves of whiskey bottles.
Oh my God.
Super cool.
You must have been in heaven.
I mean, there's only so much time and so much you can drink in one sitting. But it was nice. It was nice. Yeah, I definitely got to sample some things there that I would not get to sample back home, just because outside of the distillery, it's so expensive to sample some of these whiskeys. To buy a bottle in the U.S., you're talking thousands of dollars.
Dang.
I'm not that much of a high. I might have some Skylines, but I'm not that much of a high roller.
Man, that's awesome.
What else? 2018 was my first RS meeting. This year will be my fourth.
Wow.
In 2018, I had booked a GTR through a Morin rental car. And 2 weeks before I flew out, another foreigner wrecked it. So they called me and said, what do you want to do? We don't have any other GTRs available. And I said, well, do you have any other Skylines at least? And they said they had a GTT. So I said, I'll take that. Drove that through Hakone, through the mountains up to Fuji. That was kind of an experience. I didn't realize the cigarette lighter was not wired in. So when I was using Google Maps to navigate, my phone was running out of juice the whole time I was driving out there.
No.
Oh, wow.
By the time I get to Hakone Turnpike, the turnpike is closed. I don't know what was going on, but there are two guards and they said the turnpike's closed. And I had only mapped out the one route through Hakone Turnpike to get to my hotel up on Lake Ashi. So I was kind of like, I'm screwed. And I pulled around and I pulled into a 7-Eleven parking lot and I just sat there for 20 minutes thinking, okay, what am I going to do? I have literally 2% battery left on my phone. I have a general idea of how to get there, maybe.
Maybe.
I'm going to have to wing it. I don't speak Japanese. I don't have a physical map to go off of. I went into the 7-Eleven and I tried to ask the clerk working there if they had a map for sale. They don't. Turned back around. I was getting back on the road and I saw they were taking the cones out from the gate. So I got back on Hakone Turnpike. They had just opened it up. I had the whole turnpike to myself for the whole drive. It was amazing. Absolutely amazing. At sunset too, rolling into Lake Ashi up there.
Oh, dang.
And I found my hotel. I knew it was on the lakefront and I knew the name of it and I managed to find the hotel. Everything went fine. And then the next morning, it was raining, drove to Fuji Speedway, first RS meeting. It was great.
Wow. Yeah, that could have went sideways real quick if that turnpike hadn't opened up. That was some good luck that you just so happened to be patient and wait.
For sure. And it was a little nervous too because of the previous car that had been wrecked. They didn't want any foreigners driving on the mountain roads at all. And I begged them. I said, hey, look, I've been planning this for over a year. I'm staying at this hotel, which is on the lake. There's no way to get there without going through the mountains. And then I'm going to Fuji Speedway and then I'll be back. I'm 30 something years old. I'm not going to be, driving the piss out of this car on the mountain roads. I'm trying to be cautious and come out of this unscathed too. Mm-hmm. So, I don't want to be that guy on the news crashing a car that I don't own.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So it worked out. And funny story about that car, that's the same GTR that Lewis Hamilton was doing donuts in and got in trouble for.
Oh, wow.
And it's the same car that got found in a container last fall.
What?
Someone stole it. Yeah, so someone had rented it, parked it outside their hotel, and it got stolen. The police found it in a container getting ready to leave the country last year, I think.
Oh, wow. That thing's
so
cursed.
That car has some stories.
Yeah, and
but
there's
it keeps
probably
coming
more.
Back, so
that's pretty crazy. I mean, the fact that you had this car that then goes through all of this, that's pretty wild. But you never even got to drive it, right? Because it got crashed?
Nope.
Wow.
Nope. I mean, it was sitting in their parking lot. The whole front end was smashed up.
Dang. Yeah, they weren't scrapping that. They were fixing it for sure.
Definitely. And it's unfortunate because as more situations like this happen, the opportunity for others to experience that goes down.
True.
Because
Yeah.
the more of these cars that get wrecked and the more foreigners that abuse that privilege, they're not going to be renting the cars out anymore. And that's kind of the situation. I think they have 2 or 3 GTRs left for rental, and they're pretty expensive now just because of the repair costs.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that probably applies to more than just the GTRs, more than just rental cars, right? Just the way that certain foreigners are treating Japan itself. I feel like it's getting a little tighter. There are becoming a little more boundaries, that type of thing, because the respect that maybe a guy like you has for the country isn't shared across all of the people coming in, which is too bad, really. But speaking of Japan, so I'm about to return to Japan. I'm excited. I know you must be getting on a flight in a few hours, right? I know you're headed out pretty soon.
I got a week to go. I'm only going to be there for a week this
Dang.
time. So some of the other guys here from Colorado are spending 2 to 3 weeks. I already went on a couple vacations this year, so I'm kind of tight on time. So I'm just going to make it a 1 week trip again.
Which is, it's like me too, ditto. I'm on the same thing. I got 7 days, and it's hard though, isn't it? Like, because when you're booking it, you so want to just like add a few days, but obviously priorities and responsibilities, all that stuff. But I'll take any amount of days in Japan that I can get. That's for sure. And so,
absolutely.
I know you're headed to ours meeting, and obviously, hey, dude, let me give you props real quick, dude, because you blew my mind with your planning skills. Like, your planning skills. No, I'm serious, dude. Your planning skills are top notch. Like, when I saw your itinerary, I was just like, wow, there are levels to this. And my chicken scratch on the college ruled piece of paper is just not cutting it anymore, dude. But I know you're going to ours meeting, and I obviously saw some of your plans, but what part of this trip are you looking forward to?
Yeah, so I bought another car, a 300ZX in lightning yellow.
Oh,
that's
it's
rare.
twin turbo manual version S. Yeah, only 103 made in that color.
And that's 2+2,
it's also,
right?
2+2, correct.
Yeah.
So it's also the last 2+2 twin turbo ever built. It has a 1 in 4 chance of being the last 300ZX ever built.
Wow.
I'm hoping to maybe get some answers from some of the Z guys, maybe the USA club, leaders, or some of the Japan guys I can talk to over there. Maybe some of the guys at Nismo, or if we make it into Heritage Collection, maybe they can confirm, deny. Someone's got to have a picture of the last one rolling off the line, and if it's yellow, that's my car.
That's insane. How did you even come across the potential last 300ZX ever built?
I was actually shopping for S15s, thinking I'd get maybe a cheap car to enjoy for a bit and then resell here. The GTRs are the keepers. The other cars tend to just come and go. I fix them up, enjoy them for a little bit, and then pass them on to their forever home kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd been looking at S15s because I really do like the S15 as well. I just happened to browse through the 300ZX listings, and I saw this lightning yellow car at a dealer in Tokyo. If you've been on GooNet, if you waste a lot of time looking at cars like I do, you know that they provide the last 3 digits of the VIN for all the cars that are listed there. Well, the last 3 digits of that VIN, it only matches up to 1 lightning yellow car, and it's that last one ever made. So that's, to me, I saw that and I said, hey, this is kind of special. I think I should try to buy this car because it's not selling for that much money, considering the condition, the rarity, the fact that it's a manual, it's a version S. So I took the opportunity, had James call the place. They sent him videos of it running, everything checked out, and scooped it up. And so we got it through Shockin'. And that's what I'm going to be driving on this trip.
Oh, that's sick.
So I'm pretty excited. Like I said, like I said, the 300ZX was my high school dream car because that was slightly more obtainable than a Skyline, and not for a high schooler, but this is my third Z. Really love the car. It's so much more of a GT car than a sedan compared to the Skylines. You sit much lower. It just feels a little different. So I enjoy it. I'm looking forward to it. I don't know what long term I'm going to do with this car. Maybe put it in a museum or find some space for it.
Yeah.
I don't know yet. But for now, I'm just going to enjoy it. I have until August of next year when it ships over to figure things out. So not terribly worried about it at the moment. But lightning yellow 300ZX, super excited to drive that. We're also going to be getting to drive several of the toge routes in Gunma area this year, which
nice.
I'm looking forward to. Not driven any of those in my trips to Japan. The Fuji Speedway Hotel has a circuit experience for guests of the hotel now, where on weekdays at noon, they'll let you do 3 parade laps with a pace car in your personal vehicle. So a whole bunch of us signed up for that this year because that is super cool to have that opportunity. I know with you having your car through Top Rank, they have that kind of opportunity for their customers. For regular Joes like me, that's a pretty difficult thing to arrange on your own.
Yeah.
Near impossible, I would say, unless you are an actual race car driver of some sort and can get licensed to drive on Fuji Speedway. So I'm really looking forward to that. That has been, that was something I wanted to do with this car, but I did not get into the Ars Meeting lottery last year when I had the car there to drive it on the track, because they also do parade laps at Ars Meeting. If you apply, it's a lottery. There's so many applications that it's pretty rare that you get to actually do it.
Yeah, it's hard. It's definitely hard to get in.
Yeah, that and the photo shoots too. We thought I got into the photo shoot group last year, but then they sent an email saying, hey, we accidentally sent the email to all the applicants instead of just the 100 that were selected. So I got all my hopes up and then didn't get it.
Surprise!
At the last minute, at the last minute, my friend Gabe actually got my car into his booth at Ars Meeting, which was super cool. I was not expecting that at all.
Yeah, to see your car up there in the booth, that was definitely really cool, because that's obviously an iconic situation, right? Where, and I'm sure you can think back and you have the memory of just standing there and seeing your car actually on display at Ars Meeting. That's like sick.
Yeah. But of all of that, I think the thing that I'm most looking forward to is going with my friends again. So it's such a different experience traveling with your like-minded friends versus traveling alone. So I've done Ars Meeting twice, once on my own, once with my girlfriend and James, which was cool too. But with the whole group of guys from back home, I mean, it's such a cool experience to get to do all that stuff together and then share those memories. When you see these guys, on the weekend at Cars and Coffee, the track day, stuff like that, hard to describe, but having your friends there is an experience.
Yeah, I agree. And obviously, me and this guy have gotten to go twice, and it's together, and it is a whole different bonding experience, I guess you could call it, because you're, every time you go to Japan, you experience something new. Every time you go to Japan, you just do things you didn't do the last time. And I feel like that bonding, and then going home and you're like, damn, we're like back in real life, huh? This sucks. and then you're Googling how to immigrate to Japan. It's the whole thing, right? And so, I agree 100% that experience and having people that and share like the love for the culture with it is just, it makes it so much better. I agree. And speaking of, I know this guy's got a good one for you.
Yeah. It's going to be a tough question here. If you could only keep one of your cars, what would it be?
Ooh.
Real tough.
Yeah, I mean, it is a tough one. I want to say the R33, but I have to go with the 34. The build quality is just it feels like a modern car, even though it's 25 years old. The 32 and the 33, they feel like a 90s car, and they're super fun. I really love the heck out of them. But the 34 I could live with on a daily basis if that was the last car on earth for me.
You could wake up
And that's
next
all
to
there
the
is to it, really.
34.
It's it's the slowest of my cars, and yet it's the most, it has the most creature comforts. It's the quietest. I could take it on a 10-hour road trip and be completely comfortable in it. It's a difficult decision, but the other cars have their purpose. It's just for one car for the rest of my life, it's got to be that one.
It does it all.
Yeah. And I agree with you, Kendan. I think when I sit in my 34, since it's not here with me, when I go to Japan, I sit in it and I drive it, I really notice the difference because I haven't driven it in so long, right? And, you know, I got my 33 out here behind me, and you're right. Like, the 34 has more creature comforts. It's smoother. It's more comfortable. Like, all of the
More
above.
refined.
Yeah, it is much more refined, and it feels like the gap between the 33 and 34 is more like 10 or 15 years, not just a few, if not any, you know? So yeah, I agree with you on that one. The 34 is, as he said, much more refined. But for my 33, I have wanted to take this thing to UP Garage, like, for a while. Obviously, I'm in Maine, it's in Washington. That's like a very far trip, like so far. And I am like the type of guy, I want to go there with my car and drop it off and like kind of, you know, do the whole thing. And so, you know, I've wanted to ask you this anyways, but I think everyone else would love to hear, like, what's your experience with UP Garage? I mean, I know they did your 32, they got your 33 there. You know, you must love it, but tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, they're different from other tuning shops. It's just Doug, Eric, and their shop cats. And I apologize, you probably see my cat running around.
Yeah, no, I've seen it.
Get to run around the garage. I left the door open so he wouldn't be scratching at the door, and so now he's just climbing on everything. But UP Garage has a very strong formula and ethos behind what they do, and they're more picky than most shops. So they're not just there to churn cars out and turn a profit and you know, get things through the door. If you bring a car to them and it's rusty, they'll tell you, hey, you shouldn't be putting an engine in this. Like, let's find you a better chassis to build. Then, you know, don't spend 25 grand on this car. Let's find you a better one, and then we'll start from there and go. They're very down to earth. They treat their customers like family almost. Just because it's a very small group of folks that they've worked with. They're not a huge shop, but they're very good at what they do. And their ethos is more of improve the vehicle without taking away anything from it. So add response, add reliability, make it more easy to tune or run on pump gas or whichever fuel that you want to run. It's adding to the car without taking anything away is kind of their mindset. So they want, you know, if it's whether you want just a 400 horsepower responsive street car, or you want a 600 horsepower track build that's also responsive but does a little bit of everything, that's kind of their wheelhouse. Obviously, my 33 with the big GT3 5R turbo, that's a little bit outside of the norm for what they build, but they know that I've already built the response machine right here. And so being an HKS Pro dealer, they were comfortable with kind of taking this on and seeing what we could do with it. And so that car, it's being put back together now. We've had some machine shop setbacks with the crank, and things happen at 9,000 RPM that don't happen at 8,000 RPM. Yeah. I'll just put it that way. But that's the car I'm going to be taking to GTR Festival in Texas here.
Wow.
And myself, Luke, who also has a mid 600s horsepower GT33 here in Colorado, he's also going to Japan with us. We're both going to be trailering our cars down and just doing roll racing and car show and trying to enjoy the event rather than break our backs, you know, trying to put on any sort of record-breaking performance of any kind.
Right.
You know, this is for enjoyment for us. We don't want to blow anything up. We just want to do some pulls, have a great time, and watch other people break their stuff.
Yeah. It's always nice when you see somebody else do it and like your car's still running beside you. You know, I mean, like, hey, all the power to them if they want to blow up their car. Yeah. I just want to like enjoy mine for sure. So yeah, I mean, I guess that makes sense. You know, they're more of the response guys. It seems like they really love to clean up the engine bay, make everything look awesome. You know, I've never seen a car come out of there that didn't look great, you know, especially under the hood. And
Yep,
clearly they're the guys for VCAM, huh?
absolutely. I think we're at 60 plus VCAM cars that they've done.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
They are definitely the place to go if that's what you want done to your car in the US.
Yeah, and it seems like HKS took notice, and obviously now there's a partnership between UP Garage and HKS, which probably for Doug and those guys, that was probably like a blessing to be able to have access to all of those parts, you know, on demand and be able to work with guys like you and actually implement the parts and then have these amazing cars coming out of there. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you got, buddy?
Heck yeah, man. So you talked about your Z you're about to get, but after that, what's next for Kendan?
Ooh, what's next?
What's next?
This car, I'm having my Aragosta air cup suspension put on while we're in Japan. So I'm going to be taking that down to a friend's shop this weekend. And then this winter, it goes to UP. I've got a full Nismo Fine Spec long block, brand new in the crate that I've been saving since 2015.
Whoa.
That was supposed to go in this car because it showed up with a blown engine. And then we actually ended up rebuilding this car instead. And we were able to save the block, the head, the internal, well, most of the engine. So I just left that engine in the crate and saved it for a future project. And a decade later, that's the future project
34 is the future project.
I've spent the past 2 years, acquiring all the really good stuff, the carbon Nismo parts, the stuff that's really hard to get. It's you can only get it at a Mori factory. So it's going to be the full, meat and potatoes on that car. Not going to be a huge horsepower build. We're talking probably 400 to 450 wheel. That's fine. Again, but it will have, one of the cool things that UP is able to do is they're able to do a hidden VCAM. So the engine will look just like it came right out of the Nismo factory, but it will have the response of the VCAM also.
Wow.
So it should be pretty fun build. And this car is already fun in stock format. Add another 100, 120 horsepower. It's going to be a blast.
Yeah, I mean, that does seem like, because obviously I have mine at stock. And yeah, I feel like I could use an extra 100, 120, 150 horsepower, and it'd be like perfect. Super reliable, super smooth, but it's there when you need it. Yeah, and plus all those Nismo bits. Jeez, man, come on. Save some for the rest of us, dude. Yeah, and that was actually really cool because when I saw your car in Japan when I went, and then, of course, at ours meeting, I was just standing there just like, there's probably still some drool marks on the hood there, but the interior really struck me because, I know yours is what, a V-Spec car?
Nope, it's a base model.
Yours is a base model, but...
So someone stuck a V-Spec 2 sticker on the back, but when I had it ceramic coated, I took it off.
Oh, okay. That's
nice.
Because I'm like, and your interior was fully done, and I was trying to put two and two together. I'm like, do V-Spec 2 cars come with, the... like leather interior, I'm trying to figure this out. And then finally I just asked and you're like, oh no, actually I had, Robson do it. And you told me the price and I was like, dude, no way. And literally like immediately made the appointment with Robson. And yeah, that interior, it's like a M-Spec interior, right? Like that.
Yes. So Robson did the M-Spec leather interiors for the actual Nissan M-Spec cars.
Oh.
So they're licensed to use the GTR emblem on the seats.
Wow, that's cool.
That makes so much more sense. I didn't realize they were actually commissioned to do that, and so that's what gave them the right to use that logo, that's pretty legit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for the price, I
Oh,
mean, it's a no-brainer.
yeah, it really is. And I'm excited to get to Japan and sit in mine for the first time and like actually see it, because seeing yours was awesome. But, you know, I've got 8,000 kilometers in Japan on my car. I've sat in those cloth seats for the past 3 trips. I'm ready to sit in some leather. You know what I'm saying? I'm ready to treat myself,
Get that
dude.
smell, that
Yeah,
fresh leather. Oh yeah,
absolutely, man.
I feel like it really adds the class to the interior that car is missing.
Yeah, no,
The
I
seats are
agree.
nice. The seats are very supportive, but that Napa leather really makes it nice.
Yeah, and I agree. I think that it you know, really takes the outside and ties it in with the inside with that new interior. And yeah, if you're getting a GTR and it's still over in Japan, like make that work, because for less than like $4,000 a full leather interior, that's unheard of over here to that quality. And as you said, if it's the guys that originally did the M specs, I mean, you really can't go wrong.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
all right, man. So, you know, we're gonna wrap this up a little bit, but before I get you off of here, man, I have to ask, and we've mentioned it. You're a whiskey connoisseur. That's your thing. You know, everybody's got their thing, and whiskey is your thing. And I respect that 100%. But what I need to know, okay, what I need to know is, what is the best Japanese whiskey Kendan has ever had?
It's Yamazaki 25. No
Yamazaki
competition.
25.
I have to remember
And
that.
yeah, and so what, you know, I'm not insanely familiar with whiskey, but like what makes that special?
So 25 year means it's been aged in the barrel for 25 years. So obviously there's a time factor involved.
Wow.
The Suntory, Yamazaki, and Hakushu distilleries, I think those are their oldest single malt distilleries that have been in operation. Kind of around the early 2010s, those two distilleries started winning a lot of awards and getting a lot of international attention. And in 2011, I think Suntory actually took world's best single malt whiskey, and it was the first time a Japanese distillery had ever taken that title from Scotland. So that
Damn.
really kind of exploded Japanese whiskey onto the scene. And then in 2014, when I went to Japan with my girlfriend and we went to the Yamazaki distillery, you know, they have that whiskey library there. I said, I have to try this. I mean, for a tasting, 100 milliliter tasting, it was $50
Holy moly.
and 100% worth it. 100%.
Wow.
At the time, those bottles were selling for $6,000 a piece. Now they sell for $15,000 on average. So
Oh, wow.
I mean, there's no other chance I would ever have to sample that. And it's completely different than anything else I've tried. The complexity, the flavor, the intensity, it's hard to describe because it's so different. Like that, the extra time in the cask just really makes it something special and different.
It's a science in itself, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Um, hell yeah, man, that's cool. And say it was say it one more time.
Yamazaki 25.
Yamazaki 25.
Yamazaki.
Okay, you
If
heard
you
it
have the
first.
opportunity, the distillery is between Kyoto and Osaka. There's a train station right
Ah.
there. I think you have to make reservations because it's very popular with
Oh, I
tourists.
bet.
But if you get the chance, it's a good place to learn about whiskey, even if you're not huge on whiskey, and try some whiskeys that maybe you'd never otherwise get to sample.
Oh yeah, man. We're definitely gonna take note of that. We appreciate you coming on here, Kendan. Just as I expected, you know, very informative, good flowing episode. Let people know where to find you. Where can we see this triple threat on the internet? Like, what's the deal, man?
Yeah, I post most of my stuff on Instagram, MDNT_32. If you find me on Facebook, I'm on most of the Skyline pages too, or just reach out to me, Kendan Anderson. Ask me any questions, follow me, add me as a friend, whatever you want to do. If you need to ask some questions, fire away.
Awesome. Yeah, man. Guy is definitely absolutely knowledgeable. whenever I got something, I know I shoot it to him, and he's always quick to fire back with the answer. We appreciate you coming on today, man. Hopefully everything goes well for you with that 33 in the machine shop, and otherwise, we're going to see you in Japan in just a few weeks, buddy.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, man.
See ya. Dude, episode 99.
Dude, Kendan seems like a solid dude.
Yeah, he's like that type of guy that you meet him and you're like, all right, yeah, this is one of these guys that I know I can rely on, not just for knowledge, but for like positive influence, so to speak.
Yeah.
For sure. Just talking to him, especially in real life, you're just like, oh, wow, you're like super full of knowledge.
Yeah.
And that's like that with a lot of these guys that have really made this lifestyle a large part of their lives. And I'm sure like with some people, talking to us is kind of like that, right? I mean, and so he's like that next level. And so it is cool to kind of have him on your side, because when you do got that random question and he pulls out, magazine 37
Dude,
from 2003.
From the library,
Yes,
he called
exactly. Yeah. And he can actually kind of show you. Like this year I was trying to get on the infield in ours meeting, and he sent me directions and QR codes and all kinds of stuff to try to make that happen.
That's it.
However, unfortunately, like he said, it's very limited, and they really aren't picking U.S. guys because, which I get. But yeah, man, Kendan, for sure, like he said, you can hit him up on Facebook. You can hit him up on Instagram. Super friendly guy, as you saw.
Yeah.
And I suggest you do that because, again, it's always great to have somebody like that in your corner.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, make sure you're hitting us up too. Send us a DM. You got some episode suggestions. Like we said, next week is the 100th episode. We're obviously super excited about that. It's a pretty big milestone for us, I would say.
Yeah.
And again, thank you for rocking along with us. We super appreciate it. Follow us on Instagram at RHDGUIS. You can find us on YouTube under the same name. But for episode 99, the last double-digit episode. Yeah, I'm Bobby. This is Aaron.
See ya.
Peace.